Hi, welcome back. In this video, we are going to discuss the computer hardware. We're going to discuss the computer structure, the system unit, the microprocessors, the memory, and bus and the ports. After studying this lecture, you will be able to understand the specification of a computer. You're going to know what's the meaning of the parameters listed in the specification. You will also be able to list the common components and their functions in a von Neumann machine. You're going to understand what's the fetch, decode, execute cycle. And you're also going to know the memory and how to organize and access the main memory. You're going to study what's the storage devices and what's the function and the differences between different type of storage devices. You're going to see different type of input and output devices. Here shows you a typical computer specification. And in the list, we have different components described. The first is the CPU, which is the quad-core i5 CPU, which is not the latest one. And then you have some main memories. We call the DDR3, which is the version of the main memory. And then you have hard disk, which is the 320 gigabytes of the storage, which has a SATA interface and with the speed of 7,200 RPM. And then you have a DVD, main board, graphic card, sound card, etc. And we are going to study every one of them. So here shows you another specification of a machine, which is a HP server. This is different from a regular personal computer. As you can see from the list, the devices are quite different, and the terms used in this specification is also different from a personal computer. So here shows you some images of different type of computers. The leftmost one is a regular personal computer. The left bottom one is a workstation. As you can see, the workstation looks like a desktop, but it's actually different because we have so many like pluggable hard disks. And the red top one is also a server, and it's a modularized server. As you can see, we have different modules. We even have multiple power supplies. And the red bottom one is called a trim blade. It's a blade center. So each of the server listed here looks like a blade. So we call it a blade station. And in this blade center, we have 10 blade servers. So actually, it looks like one server, but actually including 10 different servers. Although most computers look quite different, but actually they share the same structure. We call it computer structure, which is defined in 1945 by John von Neumann, who is an American mathematician. So he put forward three main ideas about computers in his paper. And the three main ideas including, first one, the 5 basic components. We're going to discuss this in the next slide. And second one, use the binary information, which means if you want to represent the information in the computer, if you want to process the information in the computer, you have to represent in binary. And third one is called the start program. So this is John von Neumann. He provided the foundation of modern computer. So until now, all of the computers, they still share the same structure, and they all follow these three principles. So we first look at the principle of start program. So a computer should have a couple of abilities, like start a program and then automatically execute the program. So the computers will use the memory to start the program, which will be processed later by the CPU. So the CPU can fetch each instruction in that program from the main memory one by one and decode the information and then execute the information until all the instructions are finished. Next, let's look at the structure of the von Neumann machine. This picture shows you the modern computer's structure, and it is the most important picture that we have to remember. And in this picture, it has 5 important components, which is defined in the John von Neumann's research paper. The 5 components including input device, output device, main memory, ALU, which is arithmetic logic unit, the control unit. So besides these 5 basic components, we also have the storage, the secondary storage device. There are 3 types of flows in this picture: the data flow, the address flow, and the control flow. As you can see, the control unit here is actually the control center of the whole system. It will control every of the components. If a user wants to run a program, he will double-click the mouse on a file here by the input device, and the control unit will send out the command to the storage, which is your hard disk. And the program file will be loaded into the main memory by the data flow here. So your program will be loaded here in the main memory. And then the control unit will control the main memory to send out the instruction into the ALU. And the control unit will control the ALU to calculate. Okay, so how will the control unit find out the location of the instruction? So they actually use the address here. So it's called the address flow or address bus. So the control flow will get the address from the main memory, and then it will load the instruction into the control unit, and then it will calculate the logic from your program, from your instruction. So after the calculation, the control unit will send out the command to the main memory and ask the main memory to move the data to the output device. And then you can see your output. So this shows you the basic structure of the computer, and it also shows you how the computer actually works. So in the next video, we are going to show you how the CPU will work.